good. Hello. Welcome. Looks like a lot of people might be here with phones. Oh, I see Sherry. Sherry's here. Lovely. She's a friend from Veriditas. I posted it here. Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Kathleen. Hello. Oh, she is. Sherry. Yay. How are you? Good. Good. Janine, hello. And I don't see Susan Bullard, but hello. Welcome. Welcome, Hudner. Welcome, Kay. Welcome, Judy and Kat and Rose. Fiona, welcome.
Hello.
Where are you, Fiona?
I'm in the UK on the south coast, Hastings.
And so what time is it there? Early evening, maybe?
5 p.m. 5 p.m.
5. Okay.
Tea time.
And there's Cornelia. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I'm just going to change and put where I am. If you don't know how to change your, you don't have to do this, but if you want to change your name, if you kind of move your cursor over your little box and up in the right-hand corner, at least on a computer, this is what happens. You get the 3 dots and then rename is at the bottom. And so I'm going to put in my preferred pronoun, and I live in the land of the Monacan. You'll hear a little bit about that. It's in Central Virginia. And then I have renamed myself. So, and as I said, you don't have to do that. It might be just, I didn't come for that. Good. Excellent. Hello, Mary Jo and Bob and Ruth. Marijo. Okay. Thanks for coming. We're never sure. Some days, Nathan, I worry that it'll just be you and me, and that would be okay too. So, is there anybody here who has never walked a labyrinth? Anybody who's never walked a labyrinth? Okay, good. Is there anybody here? Actually, I couldn't see everybody, but I'm going to take that as an okay. Is there anybody here who isn't familiar with the recommended steps when you walk a labyrinth? Okay, good. And just a quick review. It's like, remember before you start, maybe remember your intention or compassion. And when you go in, release. When you get to the center, receive. And on the way out, return. And then what I suggested, at least if any of you were here on Earth Day, I brought to this community, the creation spirituality community, the weaving in with the 4 paths of creation spirituality. So the first path is positive, and that's easy to do before we start, count our blessings. And the second path is the negative, and we can release that and enter the darkness and acknowledge difficulties we may be having on the way in. And we create in the middle, and we do in fact co-create with the universe by following our allurements. So walking the labyrinth, moving meditation is one way to maybe find what those allurements are. And then on the way out, I think we come back to discover our sacred path. So any questions about that? And if you haven't muted, I heard a little bit of something, so you might want to mute if you haven't. Just, you never know when a big bus is going to go by or when a child will be, coming. So, yeah. Okay. So here we are today. I guess I'm ready then to start. Any questions before we start? And I'll just kind of move along here. And I guess I'll share my screen. It'll just take a second here to bring this up. And what we're doing today, of course, in the northern hemisphere, this is our autumnal equinox. But is anybody here from down under? Because I think it's not a good time for them. It's like the middle of the night, but it's their vernal equinox. So we're getting ready to harvest and to sort of shut down, take a rest, let the fields be fallow. And they're getting ready for new life and resurrection, and that's, it's just a difference. I like to remember that. Like, and when we started talking about this, Nathan, we even called this the fall equinox, and it's not fall for everybody on the planet. It's just not. So during the pandemic, I learned something important from Diane Longboat. She's a Mohawk elder, and what I learned from her is so basic. I can't believe I never learned it before, but this is the moment when I really learned it. And it's that anything important begins with Thanksgiving. And I think labyrinth walks are important. They are important to me. And this coming together at this time, taking the time to be together, is important. So in the Mohawk tradition, their kids on their land don't begin with the Pledge of Allegiance because they're a separate nation. They begin with the prayer of thanksgiving, and they look at all their relatives, all the beings around them, even little kids, and it's a way of I think instilling that attitude of thanksgiving at a very early age, and we're going to do that. But I also learned from Robin Wall Kimmerer that this whole idea of kinship, because Native people talk about all their relatives, and they're talking about the tree people and the frog people and the winged people, their relatives. And her idea is that it's not just her idea, I'm sure. We pay attention to something, and what happens then, we realize how many gifts we have when we really pay attention, not just to the tree, but to all that mycelial community under the tree. And then it instills gratitude in us. And then we begin to think of this beautiful web of life as our relatives, our kin. And then we pay more attention to them. We want to be with them more. And it's a beautiful way of continuing the cycle. So I'm hoping we can do some of that today. So because labyrinths are connected to both place and people, we want to deepen this connection. And that's why I'm beginning with this attitude of gratitude and invite you to join me. I honor the cosmos. I look north to the earth from which I'm made. I look east to the air within my lungs. I look south to the warmth of the sacrificing sun that provides us with photosynthesis and plants. I look west to water without which I would die. The stars above me provided the dust which formed the calcium of my bones. The minerals, microbes, and mycelial systems beneath me provide unseen grounding and essential communication. The soul within me yearns to acknowledge and come into balance with the web of which I am just a tiny part. I'm so grateful. I honor the plant beings and animal beings. I honor indigenous peoples before we begin, for their memory is the correct starting point for human history on Earth. They were the original custodians of this land. They held ceremony for eons. Here in Virginia, in central Virginia, I honor the Monacan people. They actually had to go to court, to the court of the United States, to have their native lands acknowledged. I honor them and I thank you. I thank you for your wisdom. I invite, whoops, not yet, the ancestral spirits to guard and bless this walk. I invite the angels of light to safeguard all walkers. I thank the great mystery who conceived this, who became this, and who remains with us. We are so grateful. Thank you for joining me. So now we are, like, what is the equinox? It's the either of 2 times a year. I alluded to that earlier, when the sun crosses the equator, day and night are everywhere on Earth of approximately equal lengths. And why do we celebrate equinox? Why do we attend to it? When I first got to Santa Fe, New Mexico, where my husband and I lived for about a dozen years, one lady in the Labyrinth resource group always liked to lead the solstice and equinox walks. And I thought that was nice. I thought it was nice, but I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. So I've learned a lot since then. And Rupert Sheldrake talks about a morphic field. And he said a morphic field is created by a kind of cumulative memory from the past. So this is a picture of modern people at Stonehenge. But it's why are they there? Perhaps it's a cumulative memory from the past. I also studied with Christine Balters Paintner, and she says our ancestors, our ancient ancestors, would have been so intimately connected to these rhythms of the planet that every aspect of their lives would have been guided by the turning of the seasons, by the moving of the day. And that by aligning ourselves with the rhythms of the seasons, we connect to something much larger than simply us. You might call it the cosmos. We experience a cohesion of time between us and our community, but our community includes the wider community of nature and all of creation, all of creation. So she also wrote in her book, Sacred Time, she talks about how my teachers when I was a young person would have said, well, all these days, the turning of the wheel, when the church took ascendancy and baptized these days, every single one of them became one of the holidays. The winter solstice is now near Christmas. It's also near Hanukkah. Well, that preceded Christmas. And it's also near Kwanzaa. I mean, there's just a lot of times. Well, this one, I'm going to call it the autumnal equinox, the one we're getting ready to celebrate, is aligned with the conception, not the birth, but the conception of John the Baptist. And there you see, if you know the story, John's baptizing Jesus in the River Jordan. And of course, John was a lot of things to a lot of people, but he was the harbinger of good news. And he's still celebrated a lot on his birthday, which is in June. When we were in Andorra, we joined the procession, the parade through the town, and there were drummers and dancers and singers and chanters. It was quite interesting. So that led me to Matthew Fox and his book, Liberating Gifts for the Peoples of the Earth. And he talks about justice being a cosmic category. And again, I just didn't quite get that to start with. But it's because all creation is ruled by justice or homeostasis. If you're looking at the atomic level, you've got ions. They want to lose or gain electrons. They want to be stable. Galactic stability, earthly stability, universal stability. So we can think of this wanting to achieve balance in all these different ways as cosmic justice. For example, if the expansion of that original fireball, the Big Bang, the first flaring forth, and the expansion occurred over 750,000 years, it was a period that big. If it had been 1 millionth of a second slower or faster, or if the overall temperature of the fireball had been 1 degree warmer or colder, we wouldn't be here. Life on this planet couldn't exist. And another example has to do with temperature. And I got this from Brian Swim and Mary Evelyn Tucker. The surface temperature of Earth cannot vary too far or life will disappear. And we're starting to feel some of that now. Earth's average temperature was thought to be a consequence of just being the right distance from the sun, which is 93 million miles. But we now know that over the past 4 billion years, our sun has increased its temperature by nearly 25%. However, Earth has adapted itself so as to remain in a Goldilocks band that enables life to flourish. Earth is a creative community. Earth, not just people. Earth is a creative community that reorganizes so that it can deepen its vibrant existence. This is possible because Earth has the essential capacity to adapt. And I'll say a little bit more about that later. So our call to compassion and justice making is a matter of us, the human species, joining the dance of all creation in the quest for balance. When we're trying to keep our own balance, when we're trying to keep balance in the society around us, we're joining the dance of the cosmos, questing for balance. I like that idea. I have to try to work to hold on to that. And when we do this, this is one place where we find the great mystery. In this struggle for homeostasis, the balance in society and history, and the celebration of praise and thanksgiving. And we started with some of that thanks. So that's what wisdom is, perhaps. Living harmoniously in the universe, which is itself a place of order and justice that triumphs over chaos and employs chance for its ultimate purposes. It evolves. Is ultimately a place of order and justice that triumphs over chaos. So wisdom is managing our own energy as best we can, as best we can. Even St. Thomas Aquinas talked about justice as being the most important of all the virtues, and how injustice is a rupture in the universe, an affront to cosmic wholeness. And I didn't get that the first several times I read that in the Fox books. But I think getting ready for this today and seeing the relationship between the quest for balance and the quest for justice, I think I'm starting to get it. Justice brings together the broken parts to render the universe whole again. The broken parts of ourselves, of our circle, our families, our communities, our society, our nation, our planet. We have many broken pieces in our planet now. Even Hildegard, Saint Hildegard von Bingen, said something about justice. She said it's through water that the Holy Spirit overcomes all injustices. And when I read that, I thought, oh, what? This is the one who, makes cookies of joy, which are pretty good, by the way. So how does the Holy Spirit do this? by bringing to fulfillment all her gifts. Gifts such that humankind might thrive in the moisture of justice. Let me see, is this? I just want to see if I'm hiding. No, I guess I'm not. Okay. I'm sorry. There we go. And stream to spiritual things in the current of truth. So Hildegard, her big word, is viriditas, the greening of the planet, the greening of ourselves, bringing moisture so we don't dry up, moisture so we continue to create, moisture so we continue to overcome injustice. So it's by staying green, and I have to believe, trying to put pieces together, by balancing ourselves, we have a better chance of staying green and moist, and maybe we have a better chance of fighting injustice. Okay, this led me to Joanna Macy and Molly Brown in their coming back to life. And I found a quote that's not here, not yet. Paul Hawken said, he had a metaphor between a living organism and humankind as a species. And he says, if the metaphor of an organism can be applied to humankind, we can imagine a collective movement that would protect, repair, and restore that organism's capacity to endure when threatened. Specifically, the shared activity of hundreds or thousands of nonprofit organizations can be seen as humanity's immune response to toxins like political corruption, economic disease, and ecological degradation. Humanity's immune response. This immune response depends on the quality of our connectedness. The immune system depends on its diversity to maintain resiliency, to stay green and wet, with which it can maintain homeostasis. So I keep running into this word, right? Joanna Macy and the work that reconnects, she has a spiral, and it is, to me, the same as the four paths and the same as the labyrinth. It starts with gratitude. It goes into honoring our pain. It's seeing with new eyes and then going forth. Going forth. So what what I want us to do now, we're ready to walk. I've said too much. I hope I haven't bored you. Perhaps you have something to think about or not to think about. But going back to Christine Walters Paintner, just for a minute, she teaches the 4-part breath. And what that can be compared to the seasons. So there's the breathing in, which is, of course, springtime, and then holding that fullness, full breath, which is, of course, being full, summer. And now we're in the exhalation point, getting ready for the complete emptiness of the winter season. So I'm going to invite us just to deepen our coherence a little bit more by 3 of these 4-part breaths. And we'll just do them at our own pace. I can't really direct that. So we start with in. Pay special attention when you get to your exhalations. In seasonal time, we become aware of the continual invitation to cross a threshold into a deeper awareness. Dawn, day, dusk, and dark each carry different qualities and questions. And now we're in that transition to this exhalation, the harvesting and letting go time. And when we enter a labyrinth, we cross a threshold. Does everybody have a finger labyrinth of some kind? Why don't we take a moment here and hold up? I just want to, well, we'll do that in a second, but if I'm going to offer an intention, and some of you may have come with your own, but my intention for us would be that we achieve a greater degree of balance and justice in every aspect of our lives, within ourselves, our families, our communities, our countries, and our planet. So more balance, more justice, going from myself all the way to my planet. Now, what I'd like us to do, just for a minute here, is just hold up the labyrinth that you're going to use today. Could be a piece of paper. Good. And if you don't have, you need a labyrinth to do a labyrinth walk. If you don't have one, you can download it very, very, very easily. I keep it on my phone, Labyrinth Journey. It's free. It's fun. They're nice people. When it stopped working, I wrote to them and they said, yeah, we know, we're going to work on it. And he actually wrote back 3 months later, we got it fixed. I was like, you didn't have to do that. I was really excited. Good. So we've got classical, and I'm going to suggest those of you using a paper labyrinth, you can either use 2 colors, or you can like cross one way going in and cross the other way on your paper coming out. It kind of approximates steps, and it's actually easier, I think, to follow than if you just draw a line. Okay, and of course, if you stay on the path, you'll get to the center. Any questions before we start? Okay, so this'll last about 7 minutes or so. If you have a little bitty labyrinth, you might want to do it 2 or 3 times. You decide. Very good. And at the end, we'll have time to share in case any of you have questions or you have insights to share. Okay, so now I'm going to try to share the music. Just take me a second. This is called Healing Oracle. I'll put that up later. 7 minutes. If you're not quite finished, you might want to finish up. So the music we listened to was called Healing Oracle, and it's written by Habibi and part of the shamanic drum meditation group. So we've walked, and now, if we were at Chart, the only time we could walk would be on a Friday when they moved the chairs off. Just recently I had lunch with some new friends who we were talking about, why do labyrinths, why is this resurgence, and why did they fall out of favor? And I said, well, if you've got them covered up by chairs, people don't even see necessarily that they're there. So we're gonna share in just a second, but I kind of wanted to do one more thing. I thought I had one. Here it is. Okay. And if you're inclined to stand up, if you're not, that's okay. But we Christine Walters Paintner again talks about balance as being dynamic. And I like that, because when I start talking about balance and justice, I start thinking, oh no, I'm supposed to be marching, and I've never been a big marcher. But then she goes on, it's this wavering, this trying and achieving or not achieving, that we can become fully present to the internal micro movements of our lives. She finds comfort in this, both in yoga and life. So you can hold on to your chair. You don't have to do what that picture did earlier. You can just maybe try to put your foot on your ankle. If you could go up higher, that's fine. And you can keep your hands down here by your hips. And of course, I'm on my stronger leg because I knew I was going to do this. If you do it on both sides, you'll find a big difference. If you can go to the prayer position, great. And if you can actually raise your hands up, that's great. And maybe on my right leg, I can do that. But then I go to the other side of my dear body, and not necessarily. But there's all kind of shaking going on. So we brought our bodies along, even though we couldn't walk together. Even though we couldn't walk physically, we walked with our fingers. And I forgot to say this, but a nice thing to do is actually walk with your eyes closed and with your non-dominant hand. That's a nice sensation. So perhaps the equinox is a time to remember our quest for balance and our quest for justice. Now, the easiest way for you to share is probably just to raise your hand. You go to, on a computer, you go to the bottom bar where it's reactions, and you can open that and it's a raised hand. And Nathan or I can call on you. It's not like we're on two screens. We probably can.
And just unmute yourself, please.
Yeah.
Speak.
And Gail made it. That's great. Hi. So I don't know. When that music started, no, it was really when it was getting ready to end. And I had walked. I had this feeling of people, ancient peoples walking and maybe even dancing, and you did too. Yeah. I thought, okay, I went with drums because I thought, well, that's kind of primal. That's kind of what we're talking about today. Any insights or inspirations? Oh, Marijo. And you're muted. There you go.
And it's not that exotic. My name is really Mary Jo, but I wanted to be a little more exotic. Spell my name as one word. I see there's another Mary Jo here today. First of all, I just want to thank you, Mary Ann, for this wonderful experience, because even though I've celebrated the equinox and solstices for many years, you gave me a whole new perspective on the justice element of it. And I loved all the quotes that you shared with us, and Joanna Macy and all my favorite people. And I was going to tell you that since the last time that we met, I met with this group for my first time last month, that I've been walking the labyrinth in our little town every morning. And one of the things that I noticed going in that was just really wonderful, and especially like the 4 paths of creation spirituality, is that as soon as you come in, you see the center. You see that vision of homeostasis and justice and wholeness. And then you're flung right out to the outer edges almost immediately. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know that I like being out on the outer edges. But I thought it's designed so that we can take the center, like there's that vision that we take with us, that we get right away, that sustains us, as we feel more distance. And for me, it's more like psychic, distance. And then it reverses, and before you leave, you come close to the center once more, almost like, okay, you're going to take this vision out into the world now. And so when I was walking one morning, I had a memory that a friend who's Jewish shared with me, the story of the seraphim, that at the beginning of creation, God created the seraphim, and they were in the cosmos on the outer edges, so that when we are born on the outer edges, the seraphim bring us back to the center. And I just really love that image. And I've been going in with that image now when I walk the labyrinth, every morning. And of course, I'm walking it for justice for the earth. That's my big cry right now that's pulling me to the labyrinth. And again, like Gail said, I just feel my ancestors are there, especially my Celtic ancestors are walking with me. And I probably went on too long, but I just wanted to tell you how grateful I am for today. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Mary Jo. It's thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. By the way, we'll do this again in December for the winter solstice. Well, for the December solstice. How's that? Yes, Janine, you are muted.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I want to echo in the spirit of gratitude. I'm quite new to this whole labyrinth journey, and it really came in as a surprise a year ago or so. But my husband and I decided we would build a labyrinth in our backyard. And it's now complete. And I'm, it's kind of like, that faith walk where it's like, okay, I'm supposed to do this. Well, I better learn about what the labyrinth is about. And so I'm just so excited, that CSC is doing the labyrinth as such an integral part of what the offerings are. And for me, it was the first time hearing connecting the 4 paths to walking a labyrinth. And I really want to learn more about that. But my husband and I are walking our labyrinth now, and I'm just, I would say the consistent piece that's happening is just being blasted with the beauty, just this feeling of beauty, in every turn and every moment in the labyrinth. And it's very much sustaining me in my life, just personally. And I know that I'm being prepared to share this with others in my community and in the world. And we're starting this the 29th of September. So coming up soon now, we're going to have a group of 10 people here and we're going to walk the labyrinth. And so this timing was just divine. And then the final thing I'll share. So as I was, I picked 2 colors and I picked this kind of very dark purpley blue, and then I picked green. Hildegard Bingen is my gal, has been for 30, 40 years. Everything I do in life, she does with me. And so I had to have the really tough color. But I really focused on this concept of balance that you offered. And I loved how you said, okay, start with yourself and then your family and then go out to the cosmos. And so I knew that I had to start with myself and go deep with myself. And I'm dealing with some very debilitating lower back pain. And and when you talked about the negativa, right, letting pain be pain, and so gratitude is every day for me. It's how I stay upright. My gratitude practice. So I just bathed myself in that feeling of gratitude. And then I went in with my dark purple. And what I noticed as I was going in, and oh my God, that music was just perfect. I wrote down what it is so I can access it later again. Because I am in Boulder, Colorado, and it's the land of the Arapaho. And I had an incredible connection with Chief Niwot years ago up on the rock up here in the Rockies where he did his summer vision quests. And I just feel like he's come into my life again, and he was with me on this walk today. And as I was getting in there, started feeling the grief. It was just this profound, powerful grief. And I stayed with it, it was like, okay, and just notice it, right? And then when I got to the center, I just dove into the grief, like right here with my purple, and just let it be. And, is it my own grief? Is it a collective grief? Probably both, right? And so I just let it be. And then I got my green out. And I think biggest takeaway I got from doing the green and then of course, after all the dark purple is this sweet sense of hope. And so as I was doing the green coming in, I hung out in all of the places with my green, and then going out, I was like, I don't know how this pain is going to transform, but I know it's through the via creativa, right? That we spiral out of pain and into, new creation. And I just felt that, the beginnings of it, and with this sweet feeling of hope. So, thank you very much.
Janine, thanks for sharing. Hey, I think maybe you're up now.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for invoking our ancestors, especially the indigenous people. And can't read Robin Wall Kimmerer without being swept away with an understanding of the rapaciousness with which their culture has been struck through the years. And so, I am curious about them. I'm curious about them all over the country. And when I go into a museum, especially a small community museum, which often will have from our earliest days, and typically it'll start from about 1850. And so if they don't have anything about indigenous people, I'll ask them, where is your, and I thought, well, at least I can just ask. And that is just a little bit of thing I can do. The other thing I want to share is recently I was at a performance at the American Shakespeare Center in Stanton, Virginia. And what they do before every performance is they have a set piece that they say about the Nansemond people who first inhabited that land. And I thought that was really, really appropriate and probably shocking to some people. As far as the labyrinth, I've walked a lot of labyrinths through the years, and I've toyed with getting a finger labyrinth because I'm currently not living in a situation where there's a labyrinth convenient and within a couple of hours drive. So it was interesting for me today to do the paper, and I had the thought I was glad that you brought up, use the two different colors. Unfortunately, I used black first. So I don't walk. What I found is that I easily lose my way in the lines. I don't stay between the lines well enough. And on the way out, I used red and I got lost. And I thought, well, isn't this interesting? Where did I go awry? And I thought, isn't it interesting coming out that I would be astray? And thinking about it, I thought, yeah, it's probably the transformativa, the via transformativa where I'm lost, because that's exactly something I've been thinking about right now. You know, where am I? Where do I belong? Where do I go from here? So I am going to afterwards run off another copy. I'll use two different colors and see how I come out, if I can find my way out. And I even went back and thought, well, maybe this is where I went wrong. I don't know. You can't tell after a while, but so that's my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
For sharing, Kay. One nice thing about having a plastic or earthenware labyrinth you can put your finger in. You can, and that's the only way you could maybe close your eyes, and and you have to still go slow so you don't lose your way that way. But you'll try. You're doing it all. You're doing it all little by little. Thank you. Anybody else? Just FYI, I got the idea of this from the Veriditas organization. They've been doing Friday afternoon finger labyrinth walks. We now call them handheld labyrinth walks because some people actually use a pillow, or some people use a tray of sand or whatever, salt. Anyway, they started during the pandemic, April of 2020, and it's been going strong ever since. And you might want to try it. They offer it at 2 different times, and it's just, you get exposed to lots of different facilitators and different ways of interpreting. And it's something to do if you're looking for another circle similar to this. Anybody else? Well, again, thank you for coming. I'm going to turn it over to Nathan now. He's got a few things to say.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mary Ann, and thank all of you for joining us today. I just wanted to share where you can make a donation if you enjoyed this and you want to support this kind of work. Give me just 1 second. You go to our website, you'll see there's a donate button right there, and it will take you to this page. And then there's a donate button for PayPal right there. So please consider donating. I was going to share that in the chat, but for some reason the chat is not working for me right now. So hopefully you can remember those instructions. Yeah, that's it. That's all for me.
Well, there's a lot at that website, and we offer classes. There's a certificate program even, and I'm taking some of those classes. We'll run into you in some of those places. There you go, Nathan. Are you going somewhere else with it?
Nope. Just trying to show the overall
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Well, thank you for coming. And as I said, I can't do this for Samhain, which is the Halloween time. That's a very powerful threshold time, as many of you know, especially if you have Celtic roots. But we'll be back for the December solstice, and maybe you'll come and bring friends then. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mary Ann. It's very nice.
Thank you, everyone.